Support WrestleTalk!
Give us a subscribe. Hello and welcome to WrestleRamble. This is Luke Oli. I'm Ollie Davis, and today we're going to be talking about Baron Corbin's Money in the Bank cash-in, eventually when it happens, who should succeed after Vince McMahon to take over the reins of WWE. We'll be giving our thoughts on Goldberg's Inside the Ropes tour, which we saw in London, and much, much more. To go straight to any of those discussions, just click the timestamps in the video description below, or stay right here, where I'm just going to briefly say, that was an okay intro.
Pretty good, mate. Pretty
Stumbled
good.
on a few words. And welcome, Luke Oli. You are swaffed, sir. You are swaffed with the swafters. Luke's full time now. He started yesterday. We were meant to do a WrestleRamble on Monday, but it was a surprisingly busy day.
Well, we had to do my induction into the office.
Yeah.
Orienteering. I had to go around the studio. Know where
Fire escapes.
Exactly. Know where my emergency exits are. Know where the kettle is. There isn't one.
We're going to sort that tomorrow,
Well,
though, aren't we?
I was going to say, I'm going to bring my own kettle. Obviously, otherwise I can't have a cup of tea while I'm writing.
Yeah.
And that's a problem.
Yeah, you do seem your energy levels crash at a certain point in the day.
Yeah, it's because you say my energy levels crash. I'm so focused on writing.
Is
like
that what it
when
is?
when I'm in there and I'm reading through back issues of The Observer, that's when I'm at my most. That's when I'm concentrating, and I load up the network to find a specific episode of Raw, and then I find the certain timestamp I need to get to find a certain angle.
Sorry, I wanted you to stop speaking so we could pop the poppers.
Sorry, yeah, that's fine.
Congratulations, Luke.
Thanks.
Oh God!
Hey!
I told you to fire it.
That was upwards.
You fired it at the light.
That's this. Oh, I love that smell.
Yeah, it smells of burning. It smells of Bray Wyatt's house. Too soon. Sorry, Bray. I'm just gonna. You talk for a bit.
I was gonna say we need to get that.
I'm gonna move the confetti from the light.
Pull the silly string off there. Yeah. That's better.
Woo. Well, have you got anything to say to the WrestleTalk universe?
Thank you so much to my fellow WrestleTalkers. It's a dream come true for me to be working for this great channel, and it's really because of you, the viewing audience, for supporting me and letting the big wigs here know that I'm not rubbish. And that's why I'm now here all the time. So this is grand, and I'm very excited to get started on things.
There were lots of push Luke comments in other WrestleTalk videos,
and it's all because of that I'm here today.
Kind of annoyingly so. Kind of annoying on my videos. How many push Luke?
Oh, mate. Well, when you were away over
Luke?
Glastonbury, there were a lot of people. I mean, there were a few people who were just like, who the F is this chump? Where's Ollie?
Yeah.
But then there was also a lot of people being like, hey, Ollie, I hope you're keeping track on this guy, because
coming to get you.
One day he's going to step in with a big swinging chair during a Raw review.
Well,
and he's going
that's
to take over.
Like, the last couple of months have seen so many cherished WWE friendships implode. I'm talking the Festival of Friendship with Kevin Owens and Chris Jericho, Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano at NXT TakeOver.
Heartbreaking.
And was that Chicago? It was Chicago, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And of course, Enzo and Big Cass.
So sad.
I just hope we both recognise that if we break up now, both our careers are dead.
Well, okay. Well,
we can't succeed.
I would say that we are not Enzo and Cass. We are not DIY. We are not Owens and Jericho. We're the Road Warriors. We're a tag team for life. Because
tag team for life.
Tell me anything about Hawk's solo career. Like, it didn't happen. The Road Warriors were the Road Warriors.
Just you saying we're a tag team for life. That is the exact thing someone would say before they turn heel.
This is not like Rated RKO, where we've just been put together to eventually feud with each other. Like, we have been put together
on the strength of a pun.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We have been put together to last. Like, we're booked to be like the strongholds of tag teams.
I hope so. I hope that, because it's nice to have someone to fill in while I'm away.
Exactly.
So
I'm hard to replace.
So what? Actually, that's a brief allusion to next week. I won't be here Monday through to Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, everybody.
Guess who's going to be doing your Great Balls of Fire pay-per-view recap?
And the news.
And your Raw and SmackDown reviews as well.
So that's
You're welcome.
Something. A brief discussion about the plan from now on, because all the people who very kindly donated on Patreon, one of the reward things, like if we got to these certain amounts, we said we'd go to 3 WrestleRambles a week, which is what we're doing. Of course, we were meant to do yesterday. The Thursday one will hopefully move to Wednesday, so we can review Raw and SmackDown the day. Like
day after
SmackDown finishes, and we'll have the Saturday ones, which will be a mixture of fantasy booking warfare and pay-per-view predictions, depending on what sort of week it is.
And you obviously get that video on a Friday if you back us $5 on Patreon, so you get it a day early, like all the cool kids do.
Apart from next week, where of course I'm not here for Monday through to Wednesday, so it'll just be a normal 2-episode week next week. But after that, forever. And what we've got in place for now that we're doing this more, and it's a long-term thing, like you said, Road Warriors for life, Swaft, the Swaft Bros. Yeah,
exactly. Someone was trying to get Swaft Bros t-shirts.
Oh, were they?
Done up. So, like, when we do our merchandise stall eventually, we'll get Swaft Bros t-shirts.
That's the next target. Merchandise. We're stinking merch, loads of it.
We're a less rubbish version of the Hype Bros.
Yeah. I forgot they were. They had a bit of controversy, though, didn't they?
Did they?
I think so. We probably shouldn't associate ourselves with them. It was, whatever. So our plan is every little bit of warring competition that we do now is going to total up and tally up throughout the month. So at the end of July, the person who's won the most predictions, the most fantasy booking warfare scenarios, they win.
Yes.
Briefcase.
Yeah. Yes. Because I want to know what's inside this briefcase, and I know that I am not alone amongst the Wrestle Talkers as to know what is inside this briefcase.
It's a scandal that could ruin me. And of course, I want to hold on to this briefcase. This is essentially our championship belt until we can make one, actually get one made. You see, what I'm hesitant about is that people will start voting for you to win in the fantasy booking warfare.
That was my worry as well. I did raise this concern to you yesterday.
Just so they can find out what's in the briefcase. So I'm asking you nobly, vote for who you genuinely... It rattles a lot, actually, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Vote who you genuinely think won the fantasy booking warfare. And we can string this out for at least 3 minutes, hopefully. I've got a few... because we fantasy booked the Kurt Angle storyline last Saturday. Got a few comments here. Jerika Sambloek said, "This Kurt Angle storyline is nothing compared to what can ruin Oli's career in his little Money in the Bank briefcase."
Can we stop referring to it as a briefcase? Because it's not a briefcase.
That's a briefcase.
It's a lunchbox.
No. It looks... So on camera it looks like a lunchbox, but you can see it here. That's a briefcase.
No, that is not a briefcase.
You can see it when it's like with the camera.
You cannot fit A4 bits of paper in that.
Folded.
But then, what if you've got like a giant document that you can't fold?
I brought my laptop here yesterday.
You did. I mean, I was at the studio first, so I saw you come in through the door. So perhaps
Let me live that down that you got there first, are you?
Just showing my commitment, mate. Show my commitment.
So that is what is at stake. Now we have the first round of this to go over, which is the fantasy booking warfare results from Saturday's Who Can Book the Kurt Angle mystery wrap-up better? So the whole, Kurt Angle's got a scandal on his phone that could ruin
my
him.
career.
Yeah, I went for a soap opera epic, which I was incredibly proud of.
Tying back into a great angle from 2000 that was dropped like that.
Yeah, and I was sort of going around saying, I've got this one, I'm really happy, this is probably the favourite fantasy booking scenario I've ever come up with.
I had the same reaction. Because my fantasy booking warfare was more around Angle building a new version of Team Angle with American Alpha and Shelton Benjamin and them running roughshod across Raw and SmackDown. So someone asked in the comments, was like, how can Shelton Benjamin win the Intercontinental Championship if he's a SmackDown star? And I was like, that's the point.
Yeah.
They're not assigned to any brand. So Shelton Benjamin can be a champion on both Raw and SmackDown the same way that American Alpha could be champs on both as well.
Well, a lot of people agreed with Luke.
Yes.
And the final results were 1,893 people voted for Luke. 1,312 people voted for me. So it's 60% to 40% in your favour.
Thank you very much, WrestleTalkers. I am genuinely surprised because I did think yours was better.
I don't want to be big-headed, but I agree. I think I've been robbed.
Yours was.
You know what I think it is?
Why is that?
Because people want to see what's in the briefcase.
Well, no, that wasn't part of the stipulation beforehand.
Hush.
I think the reason why you didn't win is because you didn't have a mystery man show up, or you didn't have mystery symbols appear on the screen. That's the secret formula to your success.
Should have stuck to it. Why break? I even said I'm not going to have a mystery man this time to show how versatile I can be.
And that's what it is. People like your mystery men.
Well, I pulled a few comments because I was confused as to why Luke won. I think people didn't like the McMahons being the focus of my storyline. They're not interested in seeing a Triple H Kurt Angle thing, really, which bodes well for WWE's long-term plans. Mm-hmm. And they weren't as into soap opera as I thought people would be.
No, like soap opera, I think was probably a thing back in like the early 2000s period and like the late 90s. But
I think there's still a place for it.
I think there's still a place for it as well. I'm not disagreeing with you, but I think that the WrestleTalkers, the WrestleTalk universe, don't want to see soap opera storylines here in 2017. They want to see fighting.
I've got a comment here from Forgot Username, so good luck with retrieving that.
Yeah.
Luke made American Alpha into a megastar tag team in the space of a couple of weeks. Good job, sir.
Thank you, Forgot. That is a very nice comment. And yeah, I mean, I'm a big mark for American Alpha, so I'm pushing for them to do good things.
And also from James McNeil, summarising what I thought went wrong with my pitch. I'd have to go with Luke's booking for only one reason. I've personally had enough of the McMahon-centred storylines. His does not revolve around them as much.
No, although the McMahons were a big part of my fantasy booking.
But you elevated other people.
It was more about Angle, American Alpha, and Shelton.
I only elevated Corey Graves. Really. He can't wrestle. We will have the next round of the briefcase competition for this month this Saturday/Friday, if you're a Patreon donator, where we will be going through our Great Balls of Fire predictions. What did you do at the weekend, Luke? We can talk about this now. We've got three shows to pad a week. So
yeah,
it's going to be a lot more ramble.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, I went to a science fiction museum on Saturday morning, and then went to a vegan fried chicken shack in Hackney. So I literally went from central London across to East London to get some vegan fried chicken, and then went back to central London.
Was it worth it, that lack of protein?
It really was. It was a really, really lovely, great burger.
Did it fill you up?
Yeah, totally, yeah. I would recommend that if you do go, so it's called the Temple of Hackney, or the Temple of Seitan as it used to be called. If you do go there, don't order a large chips because you get a lot of chips, and it's pretty much unnecessary to have that many.
And you saw Alien shortly after.
Aliens.
Yes. My bad.
I went to Aliens at the Prince Charles Cinema, which is why I went back to central London.
Where I bumped into you.
I know.
Because I had surprised my lady partner for her birthday with a bitch-along to Mean Girls.
It was
wicked.
I mentioned that you were going to see Mean Girls to my lady partner, and she was a little bit jealous that we weren't going to that, and we went to Aliens instead.
It's got a better date day. But this isn't what we're really going to talk about. No. Don't worry, we're not going to. Well, maybe we should talk about Mean Girls.
No,
it's a great movie.
It is a great movie.
We'll
talk about that on the podcast.
Yeah, we went to see Goldberg's Inside the Ropes London date, where it was a Q&A session with Kenny McIntosh, formerly of What Culture. Now he's doing his own Inside the Ropes thing. And
wonderful man.
Yeah, really, really good guy.
He's such a wonderful lad.
And so I've seen two of these events before. I saw the Paul Heyman one, which was incredible. It was one of the best wrestling events I've ever been to. Like, that includes cards and shows and progress stuff and like that. He just had the crowd in the palm of his hand, and the way he speaks, nothing like him. And he had obviously planned the show out structurally like a match in his head. It's incredible. Anyway, the other one was Jim Cornette and Jim Ross, and they had a surprise of Bret Hart.
Wow.
He walked out at the end. They were commentating on WWE through the decades, like a little bit of storyline here and there, and Bret came out for the screw job.
Oh, mate,
and was very, very grumpy.
I'm not surprised. I was about to say, I bet you his appearance was 4 out of 10.
Yeah, he was very interesting, but he's a little bit grumpy sometimes.
He doesn't strike me as the happiest chap in the world.
But Goldberg,
on the other hand,
what a happy chap.
What a positive man he is. Like, I was expecting a very positive appearance from Goldberg, but he came out, he was very tired. He'd been up since 5 a.m. He was at a car show elsewhere in the country, and he had to rush over. He didn't get to see his friends do a race, so he had to rush over to London so he could do this Q&A session. So he had a coffee at like 10 p.m.
He's not going
which
to bed.
I thought that's ludicrous.
Well, you know why that is, don't you? Because he's not banging the lockers
anymore
because of that. He bladed, essentially, before the Raw promo.
That's right, yeah. Which they didn't bring up.
He brought up.
Sort of, yeah. He kind of sort of offhandedly mentioned
it.
But he was very tired, but still he was full of positive energy.
Yeah.
And and it was kind of impressive as well to see, because Goldberg is... There's two types of people in the wrestling industry.
Just two.
More or less.
It's going to be very cut and dry with it.
There are those who want to be wrestlers.
I see where you're going with this, yeah.
And there are those who want to make money.
Mm-hmm.
And Goldberg is a man that wants to make money. He was a football player. That was his passion.
Yeah.
But that came to an impasse because he got injured. And so
he tore his abdominal muscles from his stomach.
Yeah.
Isn't that similar to what... Did Rock do that when he was against John Cena? When he came back?
Was
that a different injury?
I thought it was a different injury.
Okay, but
that was the one that delayed Hercules.
Yeah.
And that's why The Rock's not really been doing much wrestling since, because movie studios will not give him the insurance to be able to go and do the wrestling and do a movie. And The Rock's doing 40 movies at once.
Yeah, that's a good point. Well, he doesn't sleep.
Well, no, he doesn't. That's because he falls asleep, wakes up at 2 a.m., has his 200 pancakes, and then goes to do the gym, does his big reps, takes some photos for Instagram, and then have some more pancakes.
He manages to fit a whole week of mime into about 35 minutes.
Yeah, pretty much.
He's got whatever he's on.
Yeah.
He must be energetic.
I mean, he has 10 meals a day.
Yeah.
I dread to think what his insides look like.
I think they are beautiful. I don't think there's anything wrong.
I
think God was like, no, I'm actually going to make someone who looks like me today. Boom! And a rock just pops out of his mother, fully formed. If you smell... Yeah. But anyway, Goldberg, you were talking about
I was saying
the
Goldberg he was saying that he got into wrestling essentially because it was an avenue for him to make money. He wanted to be the baddest dude on the planet, and he likes to get into fights. He likes those fights to look real, so wrestling seemed like a good...
He thought MMA was going to explode, and that's very interesting, because this was back, 95? Mm-hmm. Was it 96 when he started training?
95, 96, I think he started training, yeah.
So, UFC was...
It was dying on
nothing.
It was dying on its ass. The early days of UFC were it was gimmicky because if you were you basically trained in one discipline. So you were a karate guy, or you were a Muay Thai guy, or you were a this, that, and the other. And karate guys used to wrestle in gis. And
really?
Yes, it was like wrestling. It was like costumed characters fighting each other. It was like Street Fighter.
Yeah.
But so he kind of saw that it was going to become a thing at some point. He was just 15 years ahead of the game. But then he became a wrestler, and he did it because he wanted to make money, but also he said that he wanted to be like a hero to children.
He is so sincere and honest in his genuine love of being a role model for kids. You can't, if John Cena had that sort of conviction and he said to me, well, that's not why I'm going to turn, that's why I haven't turned heel, I'd be like, you know what, fair enough, John. I see where you're going.
But I kind of buy that now with John because of all the Make-A-Wish kids that he goes to visit. But I still... he's the number one guy to do Make-A-Wish donations.
Yeah, but I don't believe, because he was going to turn heel. He was fully behind going heel. He just does what he's a company man,
but
whereas
that was Goldberg... a short-term thing.
But the fact is he was going to do it, whereas Goldberg fought tooth and nail. He told this story against going heel.
He did turn heel, though.
But for one night, and then they dropped it.
Yeah, but he turned heel... And then they kept writing him as a heel, but he just acted like a babyface. It was a dreadful heel run.
Yeah, he said, he talked about that instance specifically, and he said that he wouldn't do it because he was going back into his locker room where there was a Make-A-Wish kid who was very close to death that evening. He was like, if there's one kid that is sad because I do something bad in the ring, not worth it for me.
It's not worth it, yeah.
Yeah, and I was just like... And then at the end, when he was high-fiving kids, he pulled up a little girl on the stage and gave her a hug. I was just like...
Oh, it was so adorable.
Yeah.
So adorable. He loves being that superhero to kids. And when he does, he was doing all those promos about it on Raw, and a lot of people were kind of being very cynical, very snidey about it, but he genuinely believes it.
when Goldberg came back, I remember Dave Meltzer telling a story on Wrestling Observer Radio that Goldberg would finish a WCW show, get a load of merch, put it all in a van, drive down to the local kids' hospital, and just hand out free WCW stuff and pose for photos. That's the sort of guy he is. So although that you've got because he did mention why he didn't go to WWE right away in the whole WCW ECW invasion buyout thing, and he's essentially said look, I'm here to make money, like you said. I'm not going to be an idiot and trade my contract in for 50p on the dollar.
He essentially said, I'm not going to sell myself for 50 cents on the dollar.
He essentially said DDP and Booker T
are idiots.
You're idiots. Because that's, of course, what they did in the invasion.
Yeah, it was basically DDP, Booker T, and lower level guys, Mark Jindrak and Sean Stasiak and Hugh Morris. But they were your big stars that jumped over from WCW because they were the only ones who, DDP and Booker T were the only top name stars from WCW who were willing to take the 50 cents on the dollar cut because they just wanted to work. They wanted to be wrestlers.
Love wrestling, yeah. Whereas, as you said, Goldberg was
Hogan, Nash, Hall. They just wanted to sit home and collect checks.
Yeah. So, and when he said that, when he answered Kenny's question, and he was kind of well, I'm not going to do that. I'm a businessman. My heart broke a little bit. Yeah. I can feel everyone in the audience going oh, we're still the kids.
Yeah, but in all fairness to him, though,
I can't fault the guy.
In all fairness to Goldberg, had he sold himself out, as he put it, and gone for the 50 cents on a dollar offer and joined the invasion such as it was, he'd have looked so out of place. And I think that would have really damaged the Goldberg character because, DDP and Booker T, it took them a long time to recover from that. DDP was, he got no offense in his entire feud with The Undertaker and then was, lower mid-card for life. And then was a year later, he was gone. Booker T, it took him forever to get back, to being a top guy. He didn't have a championship run or an opportunity. Championship opportunity. So WrestleMania 19. It might have been later than that. And that was when he was facing against Triple H. When Triple H cut that infamous promo. It was people like you don't win championships.
So I've got one takeaway that I was very interested in. What if you have one bit that you really enjoyed? What would you? What
I really enjoyed,
or found interesting.
What did I find interesting? I really liked actually him talking about his relationship with Brock.
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
So when he was talking about, they split the night into three parts. You had the WCW run, the first WWE one, and then the return. And when he was talking about his relationship with Brock, like he said, he said, not many people know this, but Brock has become one of the great wrestling minds in the business. And when you look back at that Goldberg-Brock whole storyline, I always thought Paul Heyman was a lot behind it. The whole realistic feel. But then I'm Brock hangs out with Paul Heyman. He was mentored by Paul Heyman. Who's not to say Brock isn't the guy coming up with these finishes?
I was going to say,
or suggesting the storylines,
or suggesting losing in 86 seconds, because it was the finish that no one was expecting. And what made Goldberg a star was squashing people in 86 seconds. So doing that to Lesnar was let's be honest. There was someone who left a comment or sent me a tweet last week saying that I need to stop disrespecting people who thought that the finish at Survivor Series was stupid. And I was I'm not sure I've ever said that I thought they were stupid.
Wow.
I've just said that I personally thought it was genius. I'm not going to argue that if anyone disagrees, then they're absolutely free to think that. But there is a group of people who are so upset by the end of that match. But name me a finish that was talked about more last year.
Well, the Randy Orton Brock Lesnar elbow one.
Yeah.
Another Brock Lesnar thing. I think if Lesnar doesn't see any value in the person he's fighting, i.e. a big payday, he's not going to put in the effort. Like Dean Ambrose at WrestleMania last year.
Perfect, yeah.
Just didn't care. Why would he try? Whereas you got your Goldberg, Orton, and now Samoa Joe. He's obviously I could do something with this. I could do a really good main event match with a big angle. So he's I'm going to make you look like $1 million. I'm going to sell for you. Like Brock selling when Joe attacked him from behind at Raw a week ago now. That was great. Mm-hmm. Brock selling's amazing. And he makes Joe look all the much better.
Yeah.
So I think Brock Lesnar really is an unsung genius behind the scenes in WWE. Because now we've got 3 shows a week to pad out, we're going to dive into the mailbag.
Yeah.
Specifically because if you donate $50 a month or more, thank you, by the way, on Patreon. And if you have donated $50 a month or more and you haven't sent us an email like I've asked you to, please do, because it's your right. So the first one we've got from Rollerball Rocco Beverleek.
Did we had this last time, didn't we?
This was, we had to kind of
and I went with
well, but you said Beverlock, and we
Beverlock,
said that's like his finishing move.
That's right, yes, that was the Beverlock, yeah.
Whereas, so Rocco commented on that, and he just laughed at us for trying to mispronounce his name.
Oh, okay.
It didn't help us at all. But anyway, Rocco says, I guess, if it's worthy to talk about for a decent minute, what do you and Luke think Vince McMahon will do about his successor to the WWE? I think he should just book a Team Shane versus Team Stephanie and Hunter at a future Survivor Series, and no one gets over. Thank you again, Ollie, Luke, and WrestleTalk. So what do you think Vince is going to do?
So, I mean, the clear path that seemed to be it was going to go to Hunter and Steph. But now, where does that stand with Shane back in the picture, coming back in?
But he's got no power, has he?
Well, I mean, no, he hasn't got Triple H is running NXT. Stephanie is, she's head of creative.
Getting awards here and there.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, realistically, Hunter and Steph are getting it. But you've got to imagine that Shane is probably going to want a little piece of that pie at some point.
Well, it's his birthright, I would suppose.
Yes, but I wonder
some of the stock.
But you'd have thought that he probably would have, sold that birthright when he left to go and try and start his own. Because he tried to start companies in China, and which all failed, and hence why he's back now. So I would imagine that it's going to go to Stephen Hunter, but you've got a really interesting point written down here as well.
Well, so you've got 2 factions. There was a fascinating article that came out in December from Vice, and a respectable, not a dirt sheet, not that they aren't respectable, but not a quote unquote dirt sheet, but a mainstream news outlet.
Yes.
And they did this really interesting story on Shane McMahon and how he actually came back around 2011, I think it was, and said, Vince, let me come back in. I'll bring my own guys. We'll take control of creative, and we'll turn this ship around. And this was just as Triple H was starting up with NXT and Stephanie was on the rocks. Apparently Triple H and Stephanie McMahon were mortified. They were just no.
Yeah. And
the guy who brought Shane McMahon in and who arranged that meeting, because he can't make a meeting with his own dad, was Kevin Dunn. And Triple H and Stephanie, rumoured, it seems that way, you've got 2 camps in WWE. You've got Vince, who's the undoubted king, and he presides over the Triple H and Hunter, Triple H and Stephanie side, and the Kevin Dunn side. Kevin Dunn represents the old guard. He's obviously going to try and protect his own job, but they want to get rid of Dunn as soon as Vince has gone. Yes. But he won't go until Vince has gone.
Yeah,
he's promised a job for life.
Essentially, well, Dunn is like a right-hand man to Vince. He's been there for decades, and he comes from a TV background, so Vince sees him as he's the guy that's pushing this in the right direction. The camera zoom in and out during matches. That's a Kevin Dunn decision.
Yeah.
It's. But yeah, that's the story I always heard as well. Is that as soon as Trips and Steph get this company, Dunn is done.
Yeah. And in terms of what will happen, it definitely Triple H and Stephanie have way too much power backstage, it seems. Just the way every now and again, did you know Stephanie McMahon was voted Adweek Person of the Year? Mm-hmm. Just those are just little sort of foreshadowings of her build. They're essentially getting her over so she looks like a respectable businesswoman, which she is. So when she does take the reins and Vince McMahon steps down, it's reassuring to investors and stockholders and everything like that.
And what will that look like? I think you've only got to look at NXT to see what the future of WWE would look like under a Trips and Stephanie regime, because NXT is the way it is for a reason. It's because that's Triple H's baby, and he's trying to cultivate these stars. And there's all these stories about Triple H is really annoyed and angry and upset at Vince for some of the guys that have been brought up through NXT and have been completely jobbed out on the main roster, because what's the point of doing this?
So, and I definitely think a Triple H WWE would be better than the current, what we've got currently.
Yes, but there are certain stuff that's on the main roster that's Stephanie creative, And Triple H has got like some say in that as well. So like it's not going to be a perfect partnership.
Yeah, I mean, so I've written down a little scenario here how I would like to see it go, because WWE is a corporation. It doesn't, like, we're all tied into the fact, well, it's a family dynasty. No, it's not. It's a publicly traded company where the board of investors, I guess that is majority Vince, though, they choose who takes control. It shouldn't be, oh, you're related to me, you should get this position. So what I would like to see is you separate creative and business completely. So you get just like a real good business person to run the business side of things, the live events promotion, yada yada yada. But for creative, you get a proper showrunner. Mm-hmm. Like I was going through a bunch of names, and I'm not going to say like the Vince Gilligan from Breaking Bad, or I can't remember the Sopranos guy, or any like a revered HBO one. I think the guy who would do it tonally perfectly is the Flarrowverse producer for the DC TV shows, which I'm not personally a fan of, but they are very good at what they do. Like Arrow, The Flash, Supergirl, all the stuff on the CW. And that's Greg Berlanti. And he's a smart guy. He can keep hold of continuity. He can make engaging mainstream storylines with a soap opera action feel. Put him in charge of continuity. Or a comic book guy who likes wrestling. I've written down Jason Aaron because I think he's great. Max Landis would be another thing. And here's the catch. They're not in control forever, because people only have so many ideas. You see it with Doctor Who. People will stay on for like 5 seasons. They've only really got 2 seasons of ideas in them. So just, here's a crazy idea. Have a turnover of lead bookers at a more regular pace to freshen things up every now and again. And proper creative people from other industries.
I can kind of get behind that. The problem is because that seems to me like that's a sort of thing Vince would do, is that because Vince likes bringing in TV writers who know nothing about wrestling, and the story is that the majority of the writers in there came in because they wrote for sitcoms and they wrote for TV shows, and they actually have no wrestling experience, they have no wrestling background, have no interest in wrestling. They're just there to be writers. But do you not think like a Hunter in particular, who's got such a mind for the business and has got such an appreciation for the wrestling history, would want to bring in a showrunner from a TV series, particularly if they have no interest in wrestling, whereas he could bring in someone who is a fan of wrestling and would rather work with wrestling bookers, perhaps bring back a Scott D'Amore, or bring back a what's wrong with Scott D'Amore?
I don't know. Well, TNA's not exactly lighting the world on fire.
Yeah, but Scott D'Amore's a great wrestling mind. Like Scott, and that's the other thing as well, is that while TNA isn't exactly setting the world on fire, some of the times they do have some really good stuff in there, and they got some really I loved D'Amore. Pritchard, I can take or leave at times. I think that he's got an incredible background.
Coulter.
Zeb Coulter is another one
Mantell,
you could bring. Dutch Mantell.
He's not a slave name.
So I think that's what I imagine Trips and Steph would do. Yeah. I do like your idea though.
An actual wrestling booker would be, like a Jedi or Gedo from New Japan would be perfect. But
let's be honest, it's gonna be Road Dogg.
Good point. There's also a poison atmosphere at WWE. It seems Triple H. I don't know. I would like to see WWE come out of the carny era that it is kind of still stuck in, despite portraying itself as.
Do you know what I'd imagine?
Corporate friendly.
Can I give you my prediction?
Tell me.
When Trips and Steph do take over, you're going to essentially see the Clique running the place. He's going to bring in Kevin Nash to be a booker, or to come in and to do some creative. Sean will come back. Mm-hmm. Waltman will come in to do some ideas and stuff.
Road Dogg's already running.
Road Dogg's already there. So yeah, I'd imagine he's just going to bring in all of his buddies, and it's going to be the Clique Raw.
Yeah. Well, speaking of SmackDown and Road Dogg, WMD Stockholm, that's their wrestling name, have emailed in and said, there's actually a little bit of preamble here. You and Luke seem like genuine friends, and keeping him available full-time for WrestleTalk is the way to go forward.
It certainly is.
Also, thank you for keeping this alive and active for such a period of time. As for WrestleRamble, I would love to hear your thoughts on Baron Corbin and how you would prefer him to cash in, because obviously he's a future world champion, whether we like it or not, and it has to be the right time. Sorry for any mistakes, as I'm horrible at typing on the phone. Thank you so much again. That is not an excuse. Take longer.
Do it on a laptop.
Yeah.
Wait
till you get home.
Get to a computer.
So I struggled with this. I'm trying to think of, because we're not doing a fantasy booking here. This is just us
shooting the breeze.
Shooting the breeze. Tyler, poor Tyler. I thought, well, he's the only guy with the Money in the Bank at the moment, because Carmella. Oh no, she hasn't cashed in. She just won it again. Well,
I thought you meant literally guy as in like
he's
literally the only male to have one. Yeah.
Or James Ellsworth lost his. So
Zing.
I thought, if you get John Cena versus Jinder Mahal at SummerSlam, John Cena wins, Baron Corbin cashes in, woohoo, that's cool. You don't get a heel winning because the main event will probably be a Raw main event. But then I was like, wait a second. The next John Cena title reign will be his
17th.
record breaking. So the most reigns in WWE history, according to them. And it's like, do you want it to be like a minute reign?
I was going to say, do you want it to be his 16th, his record-tying reign, where he lost it 2 weeks later?
So like that's the wall I ran into there. So Baron Corbin needs to cash in against a face. So to get once Jinder drops the title, you'd expect Baron to cash in immediately.
Yeah, I think the Baron is going to cash in maybe at Survivor. I don't think they might not even have a Survivor Series match, might they? Because they'll probably do like the 5-on-5 thing again, which will probably have the champions locked in there. I wonder whether...
There's no harm in cashing in a non-title match, though.
No,
you could cash in at Survivor Series.
Actually, you know what? That'd be awesome. You know, at Survivor Series.
Never seen that. Yeah.
Yeah. So
especially if they're on the same team.
Yeah. So Baron Corbin. Actually, here's a great. So Baron Corbin's.
We're booking this for you, WMD.
So like Baron Corbin gets eliminated.
Yeah.
Like maybe like he gets himself DQ'd because you want to make him look strong. So he gets eliminated, walks to the back, and then whoever is the champ, say it's Randy, because Randy's probably going to be champ at some point again this year. Randy RKO, but then he gets knocked out and he gets pinned, and then all of a sudden, and then Baron Corbin comes down, and everyone's just like backing up and just sort of like letting him do it.
You know, I would do it differently from a match perspective. So Baron Corbin and whoever's, let's just say it's Cena, right? So Cena's leading up Team SmackDown, but there's a lot of friction already going into the event with Cena and Corbin, and it just comes down to Cena and Corbin. And it's all 5 Raw guys still, and they're beating down Cena, and Baron's like, I'm not tagging in, mate.
Oh, I like
I'm
this,
not tagging in. And then, but after a while, like maybe Shane and Daniel come down and like, you're SmackDown, you're representing SmackDown, and Corbin like eventually kind of face turns just for this moment, tags in, gets the hot tag, wipes out, and then like SmackDown somehow win. And then when they're celebrating, boom, end of days, cashes in the briefcase.
Yeah,
and then wins.
I really like that, but I also really like the idea of having a title match within the SmackDown Survivor.
Oh, you mean like it's still going on?
Yeah. That's what I mean. So say if it is Cena. So like Cena like just gets he gets pinned, he gets eliminated, and then Baron Corbin comes down. It's still like 3-on-2 left.
What are the rules there? Can you have a match within a match?
But doesn't that
sounds Vince Russo?
But doesn't that
put a cage in a cage inside the Punjabi prison?
But doesn't that open up some amazing opportunities? Because that's the thing that no one would expect. Everyone would expect Baron Corbin to do it after the match. No one would expect him to come down in the middle of a match.
But it's crazy good, but you'd want that pop to be at the end of something. It'd be weird from a crowd energy level for the title to change hands, a cash in, and then we come back into the end of a Survivor Series match.
If I can save it, then the last 2 people on SmackDown are AJ and Nakamura, because it's not like the crowd are gonna boo them or be disinterested in them.
Yeah, potentially. Yeah, I mean, there's something there.
To be honest, I'm clutching at straws there, because I appreciate what you're saying. Because you'd imagine there's gonna be a huge pop for that change in the middle of a match, because that's like
there'll be the pop for the cash in, then there'll be the pop for the change, and it's like, oh, this match that actually means nothing.
It means nothing. It's still going on. Yeah.
Well, I'm sure. I mean, I think we did quite well there. But we just came up with that. So please, if you've got, I'm sure people are going to be like, but that, and then like tell us exactly why that's terrible.
Yeah, there's probably some rule in there.
Yeah. So please do like WWE, stick to rules. So do tell us.
Okay, so sorry, I know you just said
segueing into an end there.
But like, if he cashed it in, like you remember, like when Rollins cashed it in against Roman and Brock. That
became a triple threat.
And it turned into a triple threat. So say if it was like 3-on-3 and he cashed it in, would that mean it's then like a 7-man free-for-all? Oh! So then like everyone has the option, which Baron didn't think about. So then
that would make him look stupid.
Look stupid.
But
And all of a sudden,
if
like,
you
that match is
accidentally-
exactly. So now the Survivor Series match has ended, and it's now a which
Would
is
have to be a title match though.
But it's okay. So you could do it so Cena's the last guy for SmackDown, and whoever's the last guy for Raw, and then he comes down and turns that into a triple threat match for the WWE Championship. Because then actually you could probably stretch that out a little bit with throw some teasers there that a Raw guy is going to win the WWE Championship and take it over to the Raw brand.
It'd be really cool if it's already gone 45 minutes.
Yeah.
And then you're both these guys are really exhausted. Corbin's fresh.
Yeah.
But because there's two of them, one of them just keeps breaking.
Yeah.
There's plenty of stuff you can do.
That would be wicked.
But do tell us if you think you have any other ideas. And I'm just going to hold up the prize here. This is the prize that we'll be fighting over this Saturday.
The Money in the Bank
The Money in the Bank with the scandal that could destroy me inside. So that will be our Great Balls of Fire review on Saturday, along with predictions, along with Raw versus SmackDown tomorrow. Hopefully, maybe Thursday. We don't know yet. We're still trying to work out this new thing. But that's all we've got time for today. So please click the videos that have just appeared over Luke's face to catch up with the latest WrestleRamble or WrestleTalk news. Press subscribe, support WrestleTalk on Patreon. That's been Luke Owen, I've been Ollie Davis, and that was Rambling.